Hi there, you're watching the Nation Update coming to you live at 2 p.m. This, of course, is the weekly roundup. And for this, of course, I need my partner in crime as well, NORDIN ABDULLAH, Crisis Management Analyst, bringing him right in onto our session today. Hi, NORDIN. It's good to see you again. Of course, we're glad to be back in it, although, in the new norm, we're working from home as well. So how's it going? How's it been for you?
It's been good. I've been enjoying being at home. It's wonderful being close to the family, and my wife's been cooking lovely food, so I've been very lucky. It's probably I can see this is expanding a bit.
Lucky man. It is International Friendship Day, so big shout out to everyone out there. You have a childhood friend, a close friend, all sorts of friends. So just go out there and celebrate that. It's a little wins, right, Nordin, as we are in the thick of a crisis right now. It's the small things that really do make the difference.
Exactly. And if you don't have friends, where are you?
Okay, moving on from that, let's get into serious business. It is the Yang di-Pertuan Agong's 62nd birthday. Dalat Tuanku, all of us here at Bernama wishing you a very blessed birthday. The Prime Minister, in fact, tweeted this early this morning, and you had shared this tweet with the team and I, Nordin.
Exactly. Daulat Tuanku and Selamat Hari Keputeraan kepada Agong. It's a very important day, and I'm sure he'll hopefully have time to spend it with his family, and he's been playing a very important role and as a key leader in the country as the head of state. He's been really putting
that's right,
the people first.
Which brings me right into it. In fact, just yesterday, he expressed his disappointment by the statement that was made at the special parliament that the government has revoked the 6 emergency ordinances that was introduced during the state of emergency declaration period. Nordin, of course, this is putting on a lot of weight and stress as well as we deal with a global health issue, a global crisis as well. But Malaysia having our own hurdles, some of which we will be discussing soon. Where does this really put us in terms of understanding how a crisis needs to be managed and how leadership can show a more sort of united front, Nordin?
Well, definitely during a crisis, leadership is imperative. And one thing that we need to continue to look at is who is making the decisions and what do those decisions mean for the people. Of course, there was a lot of statements flying around yesterday, and there was a lot of information going back and forth. So I think one of the things that when we look at crisis analysts and how do we analyze what's going on, we need to look at what is being communicated as facts and as information versus what is being communicated as emotion and opinion. So I think this is the lens in which, I think a lot of what I'm going to say today, we need to analyze what we are consuming as people who are consuming the news. And we need to look at it through those 2 lenses.
That's right. I mean, because, this virus, COVID-19, it is showing few signs of subsiding, not just here in Malaysia, but worldwide as well. And our country's leaders have been battling this crisis as well. And now with the Dewan Rakyat in session as well, there's a lot of things that has been discussed. But I want to go to what the Health Ministry said this week. They've said that there's been no COVID-19 outbreak that was detected during the Parliament sitting. We understand that MOH, in fact, had proposed that the current sitting be held for a shorter period due to the COVID-19 outbreak. So what has happened is when we started on Monday, the Parliament has been adjourned now for the 4th time, and we've just seen 2 new COVID-19 cases as well that was detected at the lower house. And just yesterday evening, it was abruptly again, it ended because there had to be more testings. So again, it's like we want to get up and start to get our issues, our files in order, but we are facing sort of a battle there as well.
Yeah, exactly. And I think this is the crisis. We are going to be disrupted. There is going to be a lot of change that we have to deal with. And that's why I keep saying, okay, we need to deal with what are the facts, and then we need to deal with what are the emotions. Part of the problem with COVID-19 is it stops people from meeting. Part of the process especially in democratic countries, is the parliamentary process. So that ability for people to physically meet needs to happen. And then you see the footage here of hospital beds and ICUs. So we need to avoid these kind of scenarios. But the reality will be that it will be difficult for now and for months to come. So we should be able to accept the fact that things will change, and we need to keep an eye on things, and things will change on a daily basis. Don't assume what happened yesterday
you brought that up.
Today.
I'm so glad you I'm so glad you brought that up, because talking about change, I want to look at what a few of the world's largest corporations are doing in terms of changing their strategies as well, remaining fluid. But as of yesterday, Malaysia has recorded 17,170 new COVID-19 cases. The health DG, he took to Twitter and he said that the country's total cumulative cases have now reached, as we know also from earlier this week, way past 1 million at 1,078,646 cases so far. So, it is a bit of doom and gloom. But we also know that the only way forward is upwards, and we really need to move into that. But just to take you from where we are here in the city center to Sarawak, and what's happening there in Sarawak right now, Nordin, is that Kuching has recorded the highest number of Delta variant cases. That's been happening since May this year.
Exactly, and of course, Kuching is one of my favorite parts of Malaysia, and it's dangerous to see this type of development, because part of the problem is you need the infrastructure to deal with it. So while Kuching is a very modern city and there's plenty of infrastructure in place there, Kuching as the capital of Sarawak is one of the sparsely populated parts of the country. So my concern is if this Delta variant gets into some of the smaller communities where it takes a day by boat just to get to the nearest town. So some of that we need to really start to manage, and I think the resources from the federal government need to rapidly be deployed in Sarawak to ensure that they get the support that they need.
Right, so we're seeing it about 98% of the 93 COVID-19 Delta variant cases that have been detected to date are in categories 1 and 2. Yes, although it may not be as aggressive as categories 3 and 4, however, we know that the Delta variant is extra dangerous, if not already.
It's that level of aggression. Exactly, that level of aggression that the Delta variant brings to the table, and that's what we need to be concerned about. While we see, over 90% of people don't need to go into hospitals, but when you start at the front end or at the top of that funnel, where you've got 20,000 cases, then you know that you're going to get X number of deaths at the end of it. So how do we reduce that top number so that we can get this bottom number to be reduced? So that's the mathematics, that's the arithmetic that we need to deal with.
Okay, so as we look at what's going on, with our friends in East Malaysia, particularly in Sarawak, dealing with the Delta variant, much of the nation's focus for COVID-19 has been on the Klang Valley, including Negeri Sembilan as well. I guess fairly so, because the outbreak in these locations continue to rage, and the task force has been set up to deal with the region. There's the Greater Klang Valley Task Force, all working hard to make a difference. But Nordin, we may not be fully aware as well in terms of the numbers in other cases. We see them every day, but on the ground, what's going on? How are people slipping in and out? What can we do to prevent a disaster? I'm talking about this because I'm talking about the Delta variant. And it seems like the Delta variant is right now showing its claws, and it's so transmissible as well.
Exactly, and I think this is where we have to be very cautious. In a crisis, you want to look at what is possible to be done, but also what is the possible threats that you're faced with. And now that we talk about the Delta variant and the data that we've got, and we're using data to make the decisions, and I think that's important. Now, the Greater Klang Valley, and what I mean by that is all the way down to Seremban, all the way over to Klang, and of course Putrajaya up into Ampang, where we see that population density is very high. That is where we're going to be dealing with this crisis for the next few months. So as much as we want to help Sarawak, we also need to say, look, how do we get as many resources into the Klang Valley to deal with it as possible? How do we get vaccination through as possible? But at the same time, the individuals who live in this area need to remind themselves that they need to follow the SOPs. I think I saw some footage yesterday of people lining up to go into vaccination centers. There was no way that they were 1 meter apart, and there was thousands of them. So chances of a further outbreak, although we're trying to solve the problem caused by this crowd behavior, is very high. So it comes actually back to this approach to community. So the community, the individuals who are in the community need to play their role as much as the government, and we see what Ministry of Health is doing, we see what MOSI is doing. It actually, the burden of activity, the burden of behavior actually lies on the individual. And that's the part that we as individuals can actually make a difference with.
Okay, so we talk about vaccine and we talk about strategy, some of the things that you've mentioned as well. I want to take your attention to what's happening internationally. US President Joe Biden, Apple, Google, and many other corporations are looking at changing strategies, not just looking at, they've already sort of, gone onto the track of changing their strategies to combat the COVID crisis. So from things like vaccine hesitancy to the Delta variant that we just spoke about, NORDIN, what we really need to understand is that the crisis today is very different from what it was a year ago. And therefore,
exactly.
Strategies has to change as well.
Strategy, you could almost say what it was a month ago. Things have changed in Malaysia so rapidly. And when we look at what President Biden is doing, what is he doing? He's getting his hands on as much talent and as much resources as possible that is available in the US and globally to help his economy, to help his community. And I think This is where we need to start to realize that it's not just the government's role. It's not just the government. You can't rely purely on the government. So how can corporations now be part of the equation? I think is very important, and it's the only way that we're going to get this thing solved.
That's right. So what these corporations are sharing and what they are saying, and they are mainly tech companies, so they are data driven as well. Coming back to the point that you made earlier, NORDIN, what they are sort of sharing is saying, do not hesitate to change your strategies or tactics when a crisis becomes worse or takes any unexpected turns. And I guess this is something we'd like to share with the viewers today. If for your business and for your organizations, it's okay to update your strategy. That could be a better word. But on the back of that, something else that's happening as well, and what they all say seems to be the best crisis management practice, and you would know this best, NORDIN, is that when they put out the strategy, what they're saying, what is truly important is to clearly explain why they are doing it, what they are doing, and how this is going to help address the worsening crisis. Do you see this sort of strategy being applied here so far?
Well, part of the problem is the difficulty in communications, and we need to continually to communicate. And during a crisis, that's the hardest part because of the fluidity of the crisis. What was happening a week ago may no longer be valid. So, in a sense, all that communication needs to be re-communicated, and today's message needs to be communicated today. So people need to plug in to this messaging. And we see that the government is pushing this. Now, we also see people out there, especially on social media, some of the anti-vaxxers and other movements have started to push back on what the government is trying to achieve. So that's why I always put, when we start at the beginning of the show, we need to look at the lens of what we're looking at. Are we looking at facts or are we looking at emotions?
Okay, but sometimes in a crisis, we have to deal with sort of the emotions as well, and the emotional part of understanding how people receive this message. Very quickly, because we're just talking about Biden as well, I want to share that he's calling on states to offer 100 ringgit cash payments for COVID vaccinations as Delta spreads. So getting ahead of an impending crisis or crisis within a crisis. Moving on to the MMA, they are reminding us on a few things. But just before that, I want to bring in Viswanathan, the executive producer, of course, and the original G, as we say. He's at work at the office and ensuring everything runs smoothly in the background. But he's jumping in to share a little bit with us right now. Gerard, hi. Okay. as he
he's
prepares to join us here.
Exactly.
He's getting in.
No,
That's right.
I heard
Okay,
he's
so
been
let's.
growing a beard, Jessy. You know, is it true? I don't know if we're going to be able to see with the mask. You know. So.
But okay, let's quickly just get through this while we wait for Gerard. I wanted to come back to what the Malaysian Medical Association and its president are saying. They're reminding us that mass screening and rapid vaccination is the way forward, Nordin. All states in the country have been already advised to step up mass screening efforts, and intensive screening is also essential as vaccination to stall the pandemic. So while we talk about everyone get vaccination, we should not forget about screening, but not just screening, intensive screening. And what's better now with the home test kits that was launched earlier this week, early this week.
Exactly.
That also helps.
Well, I think one of the things I'm all for in crisis management, you want to identify the problem. We don't know how big the problem is because the amount of testing that we can do right now is limited. So while the numbers are huge right now, in all likelihood, they're actually higher. But what we need to do is make sure that while trying to solve one crisis, we don't start another. And mass screening sounds like, okay, everyone is going to go out and wait in a line. We need to find a solution for that where we're not seeing huge groups of people outside, less than a meter apart. And that kind of behavior is only going to make things worse. So I think if we can, we know part of the solution, but we need to also understand the human element of that solution because there's a behavior involved and people's behavior. And we see the social distancing in Asia, the distance between people is a lot less than in European and Western countries. So you'll see that behavior is actually different. So how do we get people to be further apart and also get that idea of mass screening going? So while that's an excellent solution, we also need to have the human solution that is part of the broader solution that will get us to where we need to go.
Okay, I'm jumping in right here. As we talk about the Malaysian Medical Association and you talk about behavior and human element, Malaysians, we always have a way of finding, a solution. So what the Malaysian Pharmacist Society and the MMA have come out to say this week is they are urging those engaging in the illegal sale of the drug Ivamectin to cease their activities immediately as this can negatively impact our health. The presidents of both these societies or organized associations said they have found that the illegal widespread sale of Ivamectin is deeply concerning because Malaysians are going great lengths to obtain this drug. Many are claiming that this can prevent COVID-19 infections. But what these groups are saying is that, look, Ivamectin is a Group B poison which has not been registered in the country for use of COVID-19 treatment. So don't do it. Don't do it.
Jessy,
how does this,
very simple, Jessy. Go to great lengths to follow the SOPs. Don't go to great lengths for miracle cures, for all this kind of stuff. Just go to great lengths to follow the SOPs. And also the SOPs happen to not cost you a single cent. It's very simple. Sometimes the simple solutions are the best solutions. And we only take medicine on doctor's advice. Full stop.
Yeah. Okay, we're waiting for Gerard to hop in, but let's move to some business news. Before we get into that, Nordin, I just wanted to sort of reiterate some of the other important stories from this week. The COVID-19 jabs for Malaysian youngsters after the US reports of heart complications for its teens receiving Pfizer. So these jabs are now these plans to inoculate those aged between 12 and 17. That's now being put on hold till we get more data and more research being done. But also, having said that, we know that for next year, our vaccine supply for next year, negotiations have already begun, including Pfizer's brand new line. Hello, Gerard Ratnam. Welcome to the Nation Update Weekly Roundup. How are you doing?
I'm okay. TGIF guys, hope everything's okay with you guys. I know I've been watching the show and I thought, no, I'm going to jump on to talk about a little something just to digress a little. We keep talking about vaccines and whatever that's happening right now. But I think we need to keep our eye, or rather our pulse on, or finger on the pulse, as they say. And the most important thing at this point is going back to the objective of why we're doing this. And NORDIN always stresses on that. So the objective of going through this whole COVID thing is to wear masks. Now, I've been doing a bit of research, and the interesting thing about this research is we're buying things online. Okay, like this little cup I bought, I paid about, it set me back around 20 ringgit. Okay, now this one is meant to go. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, I look like something out of Friday the 13th. No, okay. So the mask is meant to go over this. Now, bear with me. So all of us who have no sensitivity, like me, I look like Rudolph most of the time wearing a mask when I take it off because it itches. So way before Christmas, I'm already Rudolph. So my biggest problem is an itching nose every time I put a mask on. For some reason, the cloth doesn't agree with my skin. So people like us go out and look for really these kind of things. Ringing any bells for anyone? Be careful, right? So yeah. So
you look like Bane. Yeah.
Pardon? Yeah.
You look like Bane. Yeah. Anyway,
yes,
I have that problem as well. So I've been getting some rashes with the mask as well.
So while these things are good, you really need to check, because most of us buy it online for 2 ringgit, 3 ringgit, and we don't use them because it comes to us and it's barely covering my mouth at times, like. So for me to want to put this on and speak, it's going to be hard for me unless I take the vow of silence throughout the day and just have this on. So when you buy these things on, and what I'm trying to say is there are billions, if not trillions of dollars being lost on a daily basis from people buying things online and just not using them, So it's quite scary. I mean, this is the other side of the pandemic, where money is being spent for naught. Nothing is happening, or nothing's coming out of it. Maybe NORDIN can give us a bit more information about this, because I've been trying this out. So this was the first one I bought, and this is the second one I buy. And most of the time I buy these things and they're not usable. So even with masks,
collateral damage of the COVID-19 crisis.
Yeah,
we have all bought things online that we're not using at all.
Yeah. So what I want to say is, be careful, everyone. When you go out and buy stuff, just be careful and don't fall for all the gimmicky masks. Make sure you go to a pharmacy and get your masks if need be, because you want to be safe, want to be protected. You want to wear 2 masks all the time, double protection. So it's 1, 2 masks at all time. That's all I have for you, Jess. You can get back to the business of talking about what's going on in Malaysia.
Hey, we can't get back until we talk about your beard. When did this happen? What's going on here?
Look. I mean, so I decided to take a vow. For as long as the country is going through this, and until the country gets out of this, I'm going to leave the beard on, and I'm just going to. It's a sort of vow I've taken for my country, for my community, that we get well soon, and if we do, I'll shave it all off. Yeah. So
nice,
I hope it's not a long time.
But in a bigger way.
I hope so too. All right, we all do whatever we can, right? Kita jaga kita, right? Thank you so much, Gerard, for weighing in. NORDIN, we don't have much time left on the clock. Studio is already in my ear. They managed to do that even when I'm, working from home. But let's quickly look at some business stories from around the region. I wanted to bring this up. In fact, quite interesting. This is the headlines. It read, "It'll get worse before it get better." This, according to Moody's Analytics. They say further markdowns in the GDP among Southeast Asian countries are likely for the next quarter, given, of course, economic recoveries coming to a bit of a pause. Also, it will bounce back stronger, and that's penciled in for end of the year, NORDIN.
Exactly. I mean, this is all projections and all kinds of things. All I would say is, in every crisis, there's a silver lining. Look for the silver lining. Look for the companies who are actually doing very well during this COVID-19. If you can't work for them, look to supply things to them. Look for their innovations that they need to continue to do business. So there are opportunities. Dig into it. A lot of things happening with technology. Malaysia is also in the middle of the Malaysia Tech Month. So a lot of solutions, a lot of investment flowing into the tech sector at the moment. So be part of that story. If things have changed, change. Don't expect things to return to normal. Look for your new normal. Look for your new job. Look for your new business.
Right. Okay, I want to very quickly circle towards what's happening at the Olympics. Ladies and gentlemen, two important events today. If you are watching or you want to check it out, diving, it's the prelims, women's 3-meter springboard individual. We've got Noor Dabita Sabri and Ng Yan Yi. That's happening at 2 p.m. You can catch it. And also badminton semi-finals at 6 p.m. Men's double, Aaron Chia, So Woo Yik takes on Li Jun Hui and Li Yu Chen of China. We are 2 steps away from our first gold ever for Malaysia. So that's big as well. We hope that it's coming home, but it's been quite an event at the Olympics.
Emotional journeys, and last night's badminton was heartbreaking. We saw the first set went so well, and then the second 2 sets it was painful to watch. And I'm sure every Malaysian is behind. I'm going to get his name wrong, so I'm not going to say it. But everyone is Lizzie Jia. Yeah, exactly. Everyone is behind him. This is not the end for him, and I'm sure he's going to come back bigger and better. And if he hasn't won this Olympics, the next Olympics is only 3 years away. So he is ready, and I think he's going to be the big story for the next Olympics.
He has said he's wiser now and he's vowed to return stronger in the Paris Olympics. That's next, of course, on the list. But if you're looking for any updates and, of course, Olympic updates as well, remember to go to bernama.com, to our portal. All the information is there. I think we're getting the cue that it's time out this week, but of course if you're watching it over the weekend, this is going to be played over the weekend as well, so we've a bit of a blast from the past coming to you from a Friday. Nonetheless, these were some of the big stories this week. We hope everyone maintains the SOPs, stay home and stay safe. Nordin?
Exactly, and have a great weekend, everybody.
All right, we'll see you next time. Take care. Bye-bye.